Oh my goodness.
What on earth did we just witness? I mean, look at chat. It's going absolutely bananas. You're not supposed to do this with the black pieces, but this is Mangrove Carlswamp. He's the world number one, greatest player of all time, and he showed it here, clutching up in game 4 of this esports world championship qualifier tournament. Duda is a point ahead. Magnus has to win. He plays this for an opening. The King's Indian defence, usually very risky. You've given White all this central space, but watch what he does. This is unreal. What a game I've got to bring you here. E5 is the standard move, but Magnus goes for a little sideline. We know he loves it. Now we see castles. Finally, we get the counter punch here. And Duda goes for a really kind of solid, steady sort of setup. A little bit dry, arguably. Maybe he should have sharpened it up. Obviously, Magnus pushes his rook pawn like a boss. Modern chess. And we see takes. Not the most ambitious way to play, but White remains a smidge better. Look at the pawns in the centre. 2 versus Black's 1. Now we see pawn to c ships. H3 solid, takes control of G4 and I4. Don't sleep on that one. Here comes Magnus's seahorse. Bishop E3 pressures, and the queen now covers that pony. A3, we see what's on the way. Magnus rotates here, and B4, you can say, Duda looks like a lady. Jan Krzysztof gains space. Magnus doesn't capture. He instead drops immediately back. You couldn't stop this b4 stuff, by the way. If you'd tried a4 a bit sooner, well, the bishop could have chopped the knight, and then the pawn was loose. Now, big question in this position. Can't White go c5 here? This is the back cave. Analysis. Didn't happen. Looks lovely. Spin something around to that square, right? The problem is knight d4, and it's a killer. You hit the queen, and say she moves. Well, you can take, by the way, but this is no good. You discombobulate things, and then you double hit stuff. And if you don't take, you move the queen. What was I looking at? Queen d1. Then there's this. Open the A file, distract the queen, and you go to Forktown. Or you could ruin the structure. Both are good. So, c5's no good. We see rook a b1, covering. There's a ton of pressure on that pawn. Magnus now hops into the centre of the board. We know he loves it. We know he loves a good pony manoeuvre. This is why he practices down in Oslo. What a guy. Look at him go. Absolute champ on his Nimbus 2000. The queen now moves. No, she doesn't. Bishop takes. Hang on a minute. I thought we established this was bad. Ah, wait. The rook moved from the corner here. If I could draw arrows. So we're okay. The knight does hop back now. Hits the centre. Offers a pawn. But do not take it. Then knight takes here. And it opens up the attack on the queen with the rook. And the rook behind. And the rook supported. Really bad for black. So this was played instead by Magnus. Supporting his centre. An immediate knight f4 is best. Headed for d5, right? A theatre near you soon. This was played though. Queen recaptures, holds the centre for the moment, and pressures the a-pawn. Now the a-pawn wasn't defended. It was given up. And it's one of the best ways to play. I mean, it got me wondering, why not a4? And there's lines that start with knight b6. Why not defend with a rook? Well, playable, but it gets a bit clumsy. Why not the queen? Well, then you lose control of e4. So for various reasons, it's difficult to defend, and that's why this is one of the best moves. Although Magnus snaffles a pawn, now has a passed supported runner, dangerous. Duda gets this move, of course, and look at the threat. Magnus sees it coming. What does he play? Knight c5. What a move. Offering the exchange. No time to get out the forking way now. Sorry I played the move that we saw in the game, but why not do this? Well, then the bishop develops. Yes, you can win a rook, but black's actually doing great. because this pawn is soon going to advance. E5's a top move here to block out the bishop, but then d3. Queen moves, bishop f8, rook ed1, something like this, and the rooks are just paralyzed by these minor pieces and pawn and so on and so on. So black's actually doing really well, better in fact. So we didn't see knight c7. We saw this excellent move, queen d2. Not so dramatic when I already accidentally showed it. And it's trying to wrench back the initiative. You know, if knight takes pawn, then queen f4. And you start hitting things around the king. f6, for example. This could still be a threat one day. Various things going on. It gets dangerous for black. So Magnus doesn't touch the pawn, although it was definitely playable, even the top engine line. He instead plays the second best move, makes some wonderful kind of Star Wars laser beam noises as he opens up that bishop. E5's now seen in response. Excellent attacking kind of move. Blunt the bishop. Go for this maybe. Bishop e6 from Magnus. Finally gets his bits out. And now rook a1's one of the top moves. You don't quite trap the queen. It does get away. You know, if you bring the second rook. Sometimes the squares on c2. But that's the way to go here. In the game though, knight f6 check. Now it looks really natural to win one of those bishops, but that was also a stallion. So this isn't the best way to go. Magnus has got the excellent knight d7. Backpedaling, but picking up this pawn at the expense of the b pawn here. Queen takes on d3. Hang on a minute. This is Magnus Carlsen. You don't just go into an endgame against the GOAT of endgames. That's what Duda does here. Duda looks like a lady. They go into the blender, both of them. A4, and this is where Magnus is in his wheelhouse. An endgame. Watch this. It's stunning. Just before we dive in, by the way, if you can indulge me like a minute, a massive thank you to the sponsors of today's video. This is incredible. It's the book, the ultimate guide to rebuilding civilization. I mean, the size of it, it's stunning. It's printed on the most beautiful matte art paper. The illustrations are out of this world. I've never seen anything like it. There's even a secret quest hidden inside the pages of the book. More on that in a second. What the heck actually is it? It's this stunning, illustrated encyclopedia of all of humankind's greatest inventions. Art, history, science. Who's it for? Well, basically anyone who loves learning, who is interested in history, a curious mind. I love having this just lying around the house. They sent me it a couple months ago. I pick it up almost daily. So do the kids, but I'm trying to keep them kind of careful with it. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, like an investment for life, right? It really is good. Check it out down below. Use the link, use the code epicchess10. You get yourself a discount. And like said, there's a secret quest. If you complete the quest hidden inside the book, which very few people have done, then you get access to an exclusive group. I won't say too much about it, and they even give out real prizes off the back of that. Do pick yourself up one of these. It's truly an investment. I really do love it. Use it so often. Link below. Get on over there. I'm sure you're going to love it as well. So Magnus's pawn is running fast and rook a1 best move. But bishop f1 is played. A little bit slow. This knight starts rotating now and you just can't stop it headed for c5. You know, if you try say rook c7, then there's ideas like rook a5, forcing through that knight hop. So Duda goes for the centralization of his own. Here comes the seahorse. Rook b5 attacks it. Rook ec8 covers. Now we see takes on e6. How's Magnus going to take back? This is so instructive. You guessed it, pawn takes. Not losing any time with this knight. Keeping it on that promised land. Covering a couple pawns here. And it just dominates this lackluster bishop. Rook a1's played. King f7. Here come the march of the monarchs, right? Magnus is first though. Much quicker. He has to get rid of this powerful rook. He does it. We're entering a new phase of the game. Rook and minor versus rook and minor. Pawn's weak, but defended for now. King c2 played. Duda understanding that he needs to blockade this pawn with the king so he can free up the rook to go walkabouts. Rook f8 from Magnus. f3's pushed. Rook c8 now lines up the discoveries, and Duda says, do your worst. Rook e3, I don't care. There isn't actually a good discovery. Looks like there should be, right? Must be, but there's not. This is actually the best move. Magnus keeps marching, undeterred. Apparently rook c3 was best, but okay, this was played. So natural. Time's of course getting lower now. Magnus was playing on a tablet, which is just nuts. How do you do that? Especially in time scrambles. If you really want to see something awkward, have a look at Daniel Dubov here, playing from his bed. Bro's absolutely chilling. Daniel Chilov. Wowza. This is the game. f4 was played, freeing a bit of space for the bishop maybe. Support the b pawn. That's the dream. Rook d8 though from Magnus, and he reminds White, I'm first to the punch. I'm invading. b6 goes for the distraction. a3 check. And you cannot take that pawn, or rook d2 check. King steps back. Now it does counterattack, so you don't quite have time to take this one, but you can take the free bishop, and that's good enough. That's the game. Piece ahead. So we didn't see takes. The king backs off. Now rook d2 anyway. b7 for the distractor, but the knight can simply gobble up. Magnus does it. Check with the rook. Magnus brings the king in. Another check. King back. Obviously Magnus is not going to repeat here. He's got to win this game, and he's now in a 1 position. Watch this. He checks with the pawn. King goes to the corner, and now a series of 3 only moves to win the game. It starts with this one. Knight a5. And the threat is knight b3. Not just check, but mate. And the bishop, of course, just can't bounce to anywhere sensible to cover the square. So the rook, once again, has to start doing the business. Check, supported by the bishop. King goes here to stay with the knight. Rook b2's tried, saying please take me, activate my king. Then it could get weird, but Magnus doesn't do that. He finds the second best continuation. I want to quickly show you the first. King a3. And the idea is, if rook takes, oh no my rook, oh no your king. You get mated. So you can't touch the rook. And then what else to do? You're about to win a piece, right? Rook b5, let's say. But now you check, win the rook by force, and the pawn lives. Very, very easy win. Mate in 4. But Magnus didn't play this. The time is low. He instead went for the immediate knight b3 check. Now the pawn has to be taken by the king, or of course you give up a rook, but that's no good. This was tried, but Magnus executes the final flurry. Knight c1 check, king back, check, takes, win a loose bishop, and that's all she wrote. Yes, there's some pawns running here. Can you liquidate them all? Force through a draw? Well, no, you can't, of course. The knight's too powerful. Too many pawns still on the board. Magnus covers. This square, rather. Here come the kings. And the problem is, when you get to here, the knight, the pawn, they form this unstoppable barrier. Plus this one blocks. Plus the king blocks. So you're shouldered out. Black king steps in. Pawn's gobbled off the board. And in this position, we see resigns. Because knight and king are going to shepherd home the h-pawn. That's going to become a baby girl. That's going to decide the game. Magnus clutches up, wins it, takes it to 2-2. They went to Armageddon. Magnus with black. You guessed it. He held the draw. In fact, it was a win in the end. Duda resigned. So more than good enough. And he advances to the grand final. Duda goes to the big fat losers section, I'm afraid. He'll then be battling it out for others. May get a chance to play Magnus again in a couple days' time. do check out the book. It really is fantastic. I peruse it most days. Such an investment. So good. And have a look at the video on screen if you want to see another epic game of chess. Cheers.